You are listening to Vitruvian Man with Jesse and Josh.
Welcome back to Vitruvian Man. As usual, I am joined by Manila Josh.
Homie, how's it fucking going on this glorious fucking election day Tuesday?
Yeah, you and I have been in some denial. We haven't really checked the polls today.
I can't look.
No,
I can't look until tomorrow.
I can't, or at least tomorrow.
I might do some drinking tonight.
That sounds pretty great, actually. So since last I saw you, I went and saw Die Antwoord.
Oh, I am so jealous.
Yeah, that was cool. A friend of mine gave me a ticket last minute, and we went. It's funny, we were like, let's leave at 3 or 4 and get dinner and walk around. It's like, it's going to be raining. Let's leave at 7. I got to tell you, we found a little hack here. We left at 7, got there fast. Pretty easy, actually. So.
Yeah. Did you guys end up going for food?
Nah, just didn't really have time. But the weird thing is, it was that torrential downpour last, was that Friday. Huge bunch of rain on
Really?
Friday. Oh, yeah, tons of rain.
Like there wasn't that much out at our place.
It was bad here. It was so bad going to pick him up that I'm like, oh, I don't want to drive in this rain.
No shit.
But it got better. The funny thing is, all kinds of bad driving, I slow it down, obviously, when the rain's that bad. But like I saw a couple people lose control.
Oh, fuck.
And I'm driving home, last 3 minutes of my drive, I'm just on the ramp. And I like to drive fast. You know me, I like to drive a little fast. I was not going that fast. And my rear end started veering all over the place. So on a very tight little on-ramp. So that was a little scary.
Damn.
Maybe a patch of oil, because I really wasn't going that fast.
Did you drive down there?
Yeah.
How did he fit in the motherfucking
Yeah,
car?
that big guy, for some reason, fits in there okay.
He's like crammed in like a
Yeah,
sardine.
and he doesn't
man.
own a car, so he likes going with me because I've always had a car available.
Okay.
So.
I for some reason I thought he had like an SUV or something.
He
like that.
borrows like his girlfriend's,
Okay.
but like he basically, he doesn't really have a car. So
Yeah, dude, shoehorning that motherfucker in there must have been tight.
He does okay.
That's so funny.
Yeah, awesome show though, Die Antwoord. My wife's like, "What are you going to see tonight?" I'm like, some trashy South African white hip hop, and she goes, "What words did you just say?" It's kind of what it is.
I mean, that's the genre.
Yeah.
Did they have any of the other Zeph artists on hand?
I didn't. So I don't know the name of the DJ, but she was good. Unfortunately, I didn't catch her name.
The opener?
So, yeah, I didn't catch her name.
And did they have? So it was Ninja. What's her name? And
Lindy.
And who's the?
They have a DJ. I don't remember his name. Though.
Big guy, right?
Yeah.
He's fucking good.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
a good DJ.
It was all good. So.
Any fights?
Yeah, it's
I
funny.
half expected.
I didn't see fights. I would have expected, a fight or two. No, it was a pretty mellow crowd, actually.
Nice. I guess it's at the Fox. Everybody's pretty civilized there.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the Fillmore, which you can get weird. So we have a bizarre subject today.
Bizarre.
We've been talking
right.
about Jordan Peterson since episode 1.
Yeah.
Meaning to talk about him and doing an episode on him, and now it's time.
Here we are.
And it's funny, like you said you have a bunch of notes. I didn't so much take a million notes as like watch a bunch of documentaries and some interviews.
Yeah.
And it's like, of course we should go through your notes and we'll talk a little bit about
We'll hit him, yeah.
his career, but like I feel like there needs to be a bigger discussion here too about what is Jordan Peterson, what is he saying, and the innate contradictions therein.
Yeah, and yeah, agreed. And how he presents himself and how he actually seems to be. Those are two very different things.
Do you want to get things started with your notes, or how do you want to do this?
I guess really for me, the start is when he really came to popularity. He's a Canadian psychologist, author, media commentator. He was a practicing Jungian psychologist to start. Got his undergrad in Ontario, but I think that he ended up getting. He went to Stanford. He's pretty much in the whole thing.
Now, I noticed he's a collector of fascist artwork. Did he have like a minor in fascism? Because I think he says he's a student of that.
Fascist and communism.
But I mean, like, is that like another degree,
that
or
was
just an interest?
That's just his interest for I guess forever. I mean, he's got all kinds of fucking artwork on the walls. He's got like
Karl Marx
sculptures,
Lenin,
Stalin. He's got all that stuff.
it's interesting that I feel like that obsession kind of feeds into the lore of why people are attracted to him, because he has the appearance of someone who's super knowledgeable about fascism. So that kind of supposition really did help skyrocket him to fame.
As far as I can tell, fascism is not the focus of his art collecting. It's like communism.
Okay.
That was his big thing. And I think that feeds into his whole, he likes to claim that, it's all the fucking neo-Marxists and postmodernists that are a problem. And I think that obsession feeds into those ideas. And I think that's why he comes across as such a fucking anti-commie.
So pre-2016, he was a professor, lecturing in Ontario. As we said, Ontario, I think we did.
Yeah, he was in Ontario.
And then suddenly comes along Bill C-16.
Bill C-16. And prior to this, right, he had a YouTube channel where he was putting up stuff, just basically his lectures. Was he already
an author by then? Had he published that first book yet?
The first book, Maps of Meaning, I think. I think that's what it was.
Right.
Yeah, Maps of Meaning, The Architecture of Belief was published in 1999. But that was mostly an academic thing.
Okay, so that was post the C-16 climb to fame then?
Pre.
I'm sorry. Oh, right. Okay.
By a lot.
99.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, and there were some reviews of that book. I guess like the first run sold 100 copies. Like nobody was interested, but it was truly it was an academic thing. And there was people out there there's some guy did a review and basically he said, I'm not going to summarize it because I don't think it should be summarized, but you should read it and read it at your leisure. And so it's like it was. It wasn't well received, but it was. People respected what he had to say in there.
Well, our buddy Christopher Hitchens used to say, too, that everyone has at least one book in them, and that's where it should stay.
Yeah.
So maybe that applies to Peterson.
Well, I like I said, I think that it was on an academic level, it was fine.
Okay. Yeah. So it was not like criticized or
no,
a bomb or anything like that.
It was a bomb because nobody fucking bought it.
But it wasn't like notorious.
No, it wasn't anything like that. It was reviewed well. I guess would be a way to put it.
So he hadn't yet crafted the genius message, make your bed yet. He hadn't really glommed on to that culture of genius.
We'll have to get into the lobsters.
Yeah.
Dude.
Okay.
Goddamn.
So he's a professor, writes a book.
And then Bill C-16 comes along. And Bill C-16 was basically, it was an anti-discrimination bill.
Right.
And his claim to fame is that he came out railing against it and saying, I'm not going to use I won't do the voice.
You're doing your Kermit the Frog.
I'll stop. Yeah. I won't do the voice. But he was like, I'm not going to use those pronouns unless I want to. And you can't make me. And this law is going to make me, and I'm not going to, and they're going to throw me in jail for the rest of my life. That was the thing, is that he made up all these fake scenarios of what was going to happen if you didn't follow this new law, and how it would affect everybody in academia and people on the streets, and everybody's going to be going to fucking jail because of the PC police. That's basically what the problem is. That I guess this was pre woke terminology appropriation, right?
Right.
Because woke was one thing, and then the fucking right appropriated
sure.
for some fucking reason and turned it into the new PC.
So there is a parallel here between Peterson and a previous episode we just did when we talked about Muhammad Ali. There was that one boxer, I can't remember his name, but refused to call him Muhammad Ali, called him Cassius Clay.
Cassius, right?
Started a fight, basically it refused to call Muhammad Ali by his proper name. That kind of obstinance seems so immature to me. And that's kind of what's going on with Peterson. It's like he's galvanized millions of people around a movement where they're inconvenienced by learning new words. I am super pro-trans. I'm a super liberal commie socialist, but it's like language evolves all the time.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't, if you're going to make up words, whatever, right? If you're going to make up pronouns to use, I think personally, I think that is ridiculous. But if somebody wants me to call them she, I will fucking call them she. And that's all it is. That's what it was. He started throwing all this, they're going to make me say zer, all this shit.
Right.
And none of that was true.
Well, okay, so you've said something he said recently, which essentially is like, it doesn't stop at she, them, they, their. Right. It's like anyone can make up any word they want and they can change it constantly.
Yeah.
Well, okay, again, obstinance about a pretty minor trifle. Think about the last 20 years, the child and baby names we've seen. The most insane made-up names you've ever seen. What's your name? Oh, well, it's a combination of Daenerys Targaryen and, some other fictional character hybridized together. It's like, that's made up too.
There's a whole subreddit dedicated to that.
People are willing to call them by their names. I just, having done some of this research and learned about Peterson, I'm like, oh, this is how he got famous.
That's
by refusing to say pronouns.
And truly, it was beyond whatever made up pronouns were. It was any pronouns. If he didn't feel like that's what you were born with, he didn't feel like it was necessary to call you anything else, right? I mean, he was being a fucking dick. I mean, that's really all it was. And he was trying to say that you would get into legal trouble, not just a fine.
Well, he said his career could be ruined.
Right.
He said you could be arrested. None of those things were true.
None of those things are true. And it's been proven to be not true because this was fucking 8 years ago. And it passed.
Yeah. And there's, by the way, there's not mention of pronouns in C-16.
No, not once. Not once.
So that was a lie. Let's be honest, it was a lie.
I'm assuming that it's a lie. I'm assuming that he read it close enough to know the difference.
So I did a little research. It's actually not that easy to find the fact that he was misrepresenting this. There's not a lot of articles, believe it or not, about this. So the one article I did find on Reddit was well made, and the guy said the text of the law never mentions pronouns once and only adds gender identity as an equal of a long line of groups often targeted for discrimination into the Canadian Human Rights Act. Peterson is lying in very demonstrable ways about laws that on both his own account and mine will affect the lives of trans people and all of Canadians, and trying to clearly stake his reputation on that lie, presumably because it's worked for him so far.
So I don't know how he fell into that. I don't know if this was something where he was trying to blow up. I don't know if it was something that he just...
It could have been accidental. I don't ascribe,
he had too many
bad motives to that. He one day out loud, he said, that seems ridiculous. Why would that be a law? Someone heard it and that caught fire. I'm willing to believe that was all organic and not him trying to grift or to you know what I mean? Just to claim fame just any way he could.
Because he really has, I mean, that's his bandwagon. He's
yes.
That happened. And I mean, I guess so. It was 2016 when that happened. He blew up. I know that, I mean, part of the problem, like after that, he got in trouble with the Canadian was it the Canadian Psychological Organization?
Okay.
Basically, they had to come out and say he's lying about this bill, right? But then they ended up censoring him on a couple different occasions.
Because of that lie, or because of other things?
One of them was because I think that he talked about his patients in a way, publicly, in a way that they thought was breaking some sort of confidentiality.
He's a psychologist. He's also a psychiatrist?
No. Psychiatrists can prescribe drugs.
Oh, that's right. Psychologists can do therapy, though. So he was talking openly about patients and naming their by name?
Not name.
Okay.
But in a way that they were like, this is problematic.
I see. So in other words, basically, even though he wasn't naming names, he was letting out...
discussing their personal information
details
in a way that they thought was inappropriate.
There's a Curvy Enthusiasm where Larry's psychiatrist says... for example, I've got this other patient. I want to say his name, but he's a singer of a very famous band, Bachman Turner Overdrive. Anyway, and so and Larry's like, wait a second, you just told me who he is. This is how you talk about me. So yeah, so the guy's not great with his with the discretion part. So.
That sounds like Elaine and the rabbi.
Right. Oh yes. Yeah. When Jerry knows that she was talking that kind of shit and she doesn't know, that he's so satisfied. I just love how happy he is.
It was.
Aren't rabbis supposed to use discretion? Yeah, that's what's so fascinating, Larry. Yeah, so good stuff. Sorry, I got us derailed.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So let's see. YouTube.
So we were talking about C16.
So 2017, he put his clinical practice on hold. So he stopped seeing patients.
Yeah.
Quit teaching in 2018, and he was. Do you know how much he was making?
No, teaching?
No, off of fucking Patreon and YouTube.
Oh, I mean, I'm gonna guess a lot. I mean, $500,000 a year.
$80,000 a month.
Wow.
$80,000 a month.
I'd quit teaching too.
Fuck yeah, dude. I'd quit doing
Maybe you and I should start a YouTube channel.
Maybe we should start talking
God
shit.
damn.
And all this was just the prolific output of fucking right-wing talking points. I mean, he hits all of them. Transgenderism is bad. Postmodern neo-Marxists have infiltrated the schools. Fucking capitalism is the God. Capitalism is from God. All the Catholic claptrap that he fucking goes off on, and the woke mind virus. And I don't know if he's necessarily inherently racist, right? But
I don't think I've ever heard him say something racist.
But he definitely blows the dog horn, if you know what I'm saying. Like he hits all those notes that if he's not directly racist, he's definitely a gateway to racist thought.
Yeah, and we do have to mention this too. In a previous episode, we talked about the concept of cultural Marxism. So,
right.
To clarify this, this is a quote. "It's true that he's not a white nationalist," says David Newert, the Pacific Northwest correspondent for the Southern Poverty Law Center. But he's buttressing his narrative with pseudo-facts, many of them created for the explicit purpose of promoting white nationalism, especially the whole notion of cultural Marxism. Well, cultural Marxism, quote, was coined by white nationalists.
Well, and it's also direct descendant of cultural Bolshevism, right?
Which is also racist, anti-Semitic nonsense.
Yeah, well, all you're saying there is, Jew, right? I mean, that's fucking, that's where you're going with that. Because, I mean, that came from the Russia, and if you're a cultural Bolshevik,
So wait, give me a second here, because
yep.
I understand communism a bit. I understand the proletariat and the bourgeois. What's a Bolshevik again? Oh, yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Oh, man. We'll have to come back to that.
That's all right. We'll come back to it.
We'll have to come back to that one. But yeah, so I mean, like he'd been putting stuff out since 2015, just like the minimal stuff. But 2018 is when he fucking went full time, insane output.
So C16 happens. He gets super popular, quits teaching, and now he's making good money on YouTube.
So much fucking money, dude. It's just amazing. And what I was talking about before was the Inquiries, Complaints, and Reports Committee of the College of Psychology of Ontario. 2018, there was a complaint of professional misconduct, and that was talking about his patient in some way. And then 2020, he got busted, and this actually was resolved this year, I think, earlier this year. Statements that he made were alleged, but actually proven to be transphobic, sexist, racist, not in keeping with any clinical understanding of mental health. And they expressed concern that the manner and tone in which Dr. Peterson espouses his public statements may reflect poorly on the profession of psychology. Right? No fucking shit. So he was advised to offer his opinions and comments in a respectful tone in order to avoid a negative perception toward the profession of psychology. He appealed. They upheld it. He appealed again to the Canadian Supreme Court, and they refused to hear it. So he has been censured by them. I don't know what that has entailed. I think that really it was a slap on the hand. You need to take some fucking refresher courses, some Psych 101. Don't be a dick.
He's making so much money now. What does he even care?
Fuck, yeah.
No, he doesn't care.
Well, I mean,
obviously his reputation is one thing, but I mean, it's not.
His reputation is made, right?
He's not going back to teaching. That's
he's not going back in. I mean, he's a professor emeritus, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's still on the roster at fucking the University of Ontario.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going nowhere.
Totally. exasperated already, are we?
He's such a fucking douchebag. Like, I just like listening to him for so fucking long.
How many hours did you listen to?
So there was 6 hours of him and Sam Harris. And then I listened to probably another 3 or 4 hours of him.
God.
And then I listened to a synopsis of his book.
Okay, so listen to me, listeners. Now, this podcast is free, and it should be. But I want you to know that Josh listened to 11 or 12 hours of Jordan Peterson just so he could do this show for you. So let's give a clap to Josh.
You, my dear listeners.
Yeah. I mean, really, that is dedication.
Well, you know, I want to fucking get shit right. I
should double your pay.
Done. Twice nothing is nothing, baby.
That's right.
So, and I think that we need to kind of get some definitions out of the way, because he calls himself a classical liberal. And this is something that happened. This is probably around that time. There was a lot of people, a lot of the right wingers that were trying to fucking get into this whole classical liberal definition of what they were, which is actually conservative fucking libertarians. But they wanted to paint it with a different brush. First time I heard it was with Dave Rubin. Do you remember him?
No.
So Dave Rubin, he was a comedian apparently at some point. Gay guy, got on that fucking right wing train and started making videos and podcasts and stuff. He was one of the ones that was on Tenet Media, the one that just got busted for taking Russian money to promote Russian talking points.
Jesus.
So he was one of those guys.
Wow.
So he's still at it. But anyway, so Peterson, defines himself as a classical liberal. And if you look at
and you said it's a thinly veiled libertarian.
Yeah, but I mean, it is now. Like the original definition of a classical liberal is basically small government, individual freedom, right?
Okay.
They have moved, and individual freedom was a big part of that, right? It was small government, but you had individual freedoms. It's moved to being small government, socially conservative. So It's turned into the shit libertarians out there. That's kind of what that's been reframed as.
I see.
And he's always railing against the neo-Marxists, right? Those neo-Marxists are fucking ruining everything. And I don't think that he knows what a neo-Marxist is.
He, Peterson, or he, this other guy?
Peterson.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we're off of Rubin. Rubin was just an example of where it came from.
You're not conceding that he even understands what a neo-Marxist is?
I don't. Well, he's either intentionally misrepresenting it or he doesn't understand it.
Okay.
And because I mean, you look at neo-Marxist approaches, and it's basically all these schools of thought that came out in the mid to late 20th century, looking at redefining Marxism in a way that takes into account modern socialism and those thoughts and ideas. So it's typically incorporates elements from other intellectual traditions, critical theory, psychoanalysis, and existentialism. So
right.
It's trying to broaden the ideas and the scope of Marxism, and in a way that incorporates a bigger idea of things.
Okay.
Right? So
Marxism, a bigger canopy of ideas?
Yeah. I mean, it's trying to incorporate Marxist theory in with other theories and turn it into kind of an overarching kind of concept of things. The other thing that fucking this one, he's always railing against postmodernism.
Okay. Now I have no idea what you're talking about. Josh is a reader. I'm not. Josh is definitely up on subjects that I am not. What is a postmodernist?
So when you look at like postmodernism, it's kind of it's a lot. There's a lot. Let's see. When you're looking at postmodernism, here's a definition from Hans Burtons, some scholar. If there's a common denominator to all these postmodernisms, it is that of a crisis in representation, a deeply felt loss of faith in our ability to represent the real in the widest sense, no matter whether they are aesthetic, epistemological, moral, or political in nature. The representations that we used to rely on can no longer be taken for granted. So essentially, postmodernism came about as, in a way, it rejected the past to build a new future. So
is it progressive or not?
So in its best form, You have feminism, critical theory, which is the
Critical race theory?
Critical theory. Critical race theory is a subset of critical theory, but critical theory is a way to look at things in context with others. So you take account of the whole picture when you're looking at one thing. And it was a legal theory that kind of broke out.
So if critical race theory is meant to like teach, unfettered, kind of unwhitewashed history of this country, what is critical? No, totally different.
Critical race theory, right? Critical race theory originated as a legal idea.
Okay.
And that's where you come into in its worst form, critical race theory turns into a hierarchy of the oppressed, right? But what you're looking at is, so because you're black, that idea, that whole thing right there makes it so that there are all these other things that are affected in your life. So if you're black, you're more likely to be poor. You're more likely to have less opportunity. You're more likely to have all these things. So it's basically kind of like, what is being black is not the whole story. Being black,
you have to look at the macro, the whole view,
the whole thing,
to understand what that means.
Right.
In other words.
Right. And so when they talk about critical race theory in the general public, they don't. It's not what you think it is.
Okay.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with critical theory?
No, it is. It's
Okay.
It's a subset of critical theory.
Okay.
And then the other things that I really like I really like the idea of postmodern art review. Like when you all right. So when you take something and you review it as completely separate of what the artist intended, and you put it onto a framework of something. So you
review a painting.
So you
without any context of the artist. In other words, do you remove all context?
Yes. You may or may not, but the fact that the way that you review it is in spite of their context. If it overlaps, great. If not, fine. So as an example, do you know Husker Du, the band?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you remember their album Zen Arcade?
I've heard it for a few times, definitely.
Zen Arcade's, I think, one of the best albums that's ever been put out. Like, I think that is groundbreaking on a bunch of different levels.
Is that goth? Would you call them goth?
Fuck no. That's early punk.
Okay.
In fact, that's probably the earliest version of post-punk that I can think of.
Okay.
And it's fucking noise. Like, there is so much to this album. And there is a very literal meaning to it.
So there's a service meaning.
The band, there is a story behind this album.
Okay.
But I was listening to it once, and I don't know how much weed I had smoked, but it must have been a lot, because I put this whole framework around this album it was a story of Jesus rejecting God. And this whole thing about Mary Magdalene, like, I had a whole framework for it. I really should write it down sometime, because it is glorious.
And you're saying that is different than their own interpretation?
That has nothing to do with what they were intending.
So you had this kind of your own theory built up about what this album was about.
What it was actually about. So that's
nice.
A postmodern review, right? And that's that. And so the whole concept of postmodern in that kind of context, I think, is really cool. Now, it can get out of control, because when you really break it down, it becomes a nihilism, a complete rejection of all frameworks and hierarchies that came before.
And did you say that Peterson considers himself a postmodernist?
No. Well, okay, he doesn't. He fucking rails against postmodern all the time, modernism all the time. But I think that he is postmodern. The way that he interprets the Bible, the way he interprets music, completely postmodern. Has nothing to do with the fucking original meaning of things.
So tell me do you have an example of how he interprets music?
So,
I mean, any example, like.
I saw this video, and God, this is the most disgusting fucking thing, dude. It was a rap song by Ben Shapiro and some other asshole.
Oh, that must have been
Dude,
great.
I
mean, dude, everyone knows Shapiro can spit bars, baby.
Well,
Shapiro starts talking, everyone listens.
Did you hear him do Wet Ass Pussy?
You watch? I didn't know you watched Succession.
Wait,
the lead character in Succession does a hip hop thing. It's really embarrassing. Oh, no. Did I hear Ben Shapiro do that song? No.
Well, okay. When it came out, he did this whole thing where he was reading it. Wet Ass Pussy.
Okay.
Oh, God.
So he's reading rap lyrics.
But no. So
you sound a lot like Shapiro right there.
He did. So he actually did a rap song with somebody. I don't know what he was. But,
that sounds legit.
But, oh, yeah, legit. And so Peterson was doing his interpretation of it. And he was layering so much meaning that wasn't there onto it. I can't give you an example.
And that's postmodernist.
That is a postmodern
So basically
review.
Inferring things that aren't there.
Putting things onto it. Putting it
having
onto
your
this
own
framework.
kind of, not fantasy, but like on something.
Saying that
that's
Ben
removed.
Shapiro, a Jewish man, was talking about Bible stories in his bars, right?
Right.
Absolute fucking insanity. Like oh God. And then I would listen to him talking about like reviewing books, people talking like he is a postmodern man. Like it's amazing to me that nobody has called him out on this.
But you're saying he rails against it.
He hates it because I mean, and some of the things that he's talking about is true. Like postmodernism in its worst form, it's nihilist because what you're doing is you're completely rejecting everything that came before, as a philosophy, right? Not as an art review, but as an actual philosophy. You're rejecting all that came before, which on some level can be good, but it can also get derailed into a real nihilistic way of looking at things.
Right.
The worst thing for me is that this kind of postmodernism, it rejects like an actual basis for truth, which we can get into with his discussion with Sam Harris, and science, right? And I think that he falls into that category in a lot of cases.
Now we have to slow this down. You said before we started taping that Jordan Peterson says there are no absolute truths.
Well, so,
or I want to say it like you said it. No, you said it differently.
What he believes is that truth is based. It's so convoluted, dude. The conversation.
Example, let's call science truth, right?
Let me.
Okay.
I can't do that.
You got it
because it's so much crazier than all that. Okay. So he and Sam Harris it was their first discussion. This was 2018.
This is when I listened to part of.
You listened to part of it. They ended up getting bogged down after about a half an hour because Peterson would not concede that the fact that there is an objective truth to things. So, basically Sam's like, look, it doesn't matter what we know, right? There is a truth, and it's okay that we may not know that, but and the fact that truth may cause harm doesn't fucking matter. It's irrelevant. But Peterson's whole take was, unless it's moral, it's not true. So, right. So it's
everything immoral is untrue.
It's not true. Somehow it's not real. It's so fucking convoluted.
I'm still trying to grasp this. So, I mean, I use the example of gravity. Peterson admits that gravity is a thing. So then how does he understand that contradiction and still say that?
So it would be, it's hard to judge how he would deal with that specifically, right? Okay. I mean, that's a hard one to fucking throw into this because if you look at gravity on a real level, right, he would say it's true because it enabled life to come to being. It's enabling us to be alive.
Okay.
The fact, if there wasn't gravity, we would never be here, and that's bad. That's immoral, right? So, right, because that's killing people, or it's not allowing life to flourish, right? So that's.
I mean, how do you assign morality to the survival of a species? Right, we are innately immoral species.
No. The thing about it, don't make me bring the Bible into it. The thing about it is that Harris is like, okay, but when do you cash that check? When is something true? You may not know that until 10 million years when everybody's fucking dead. He's like, exactly. That's right. You don't know if it's true until you find out if it's moral or not. Like, it is.
So is belief of heaven a moral truth?
So belief is not a truth necessarily, okay. Right? So belief is a belief, and that's separate. And he has gone through gymnastics trying to prove that there is some sort of fucking God, dude. Like, I mean, like some of his I'm just
prove. You just said the word prove?
Yeah.
Interesting.
As
evidence of his non-existence is all over the place. Dude. You know that quote I told you, the God doesn't work in mysterious ways. He works in ways that are indistinguishable from his non-existence.
Yeah, that's gold.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I mean, so obviously we can't solve that problem here, but that's confusing.
No, it's very confusing. And eventually, because I listened to three of their conversations, and one was that one, and Sam is he's like, it's been 2 hours. We're getting nowhere with this. You're not going to concede that there's an objective truth. I'm not going to concede that truth is based on whether it's moral or not. So we're quitting. 2 fucking hours. And then, so then I listened to the next one, and they just kind of ignored it and moved on to some different things.
So Sam said, let's move on.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you get into it, it's like, the worst of postmodernism, I think that he is essentially guilty of what the problems are. Like, what he rails against, he's just as guilty of the worst parts of postmodernism.
So we kind of have to talk about this too. He is a walking contradiction.
True.
Okay, so I watched an interview with him, and someone had clearly asked him about any connections between him and the alt-right movement. Like, basically saying, how do you address people that cite you or that are alt-right that follow you? And he says, this is an exact quote: "I'm not in favor of people banding together into ideological groups." All of his followers have bandied together to form an ideological group.
Yeah.
He is the leader of an ideological group.
And he both sides shit all the time. He's really bad. Like, I don't.
You're doing the Kermit the Frog again.
I'm trying not to, but it's so hard when you fucking do it. His whole thing is like, I don't like it. I don't like one side doing it. I don't like the other side doing it. But that's not the fucking question.
I don't understand how a college professor who doesn't understand the fallacy of false equivalency got a degree. So another quote I heard of his was, he was talking to some students, and I don't know if they were trans, but he was talking to some students, and he said, you're just like Nazi Germany.
Right. Yeah.
And let's talk about, that's insulting and ridiculous, but it's insane and not true. And to compare the evolution of language and people fighting for trans rights to Nazi Germany is insane.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's fucking crazy. And it's not even intellectually provable. Like, forget about the fact that it's insulting. In no way, shape, or form is trans people asking to be called certain pronouns like Nazi Germany. Well, there's no law. No one's ever been arrested for calling someone the wrong pronoun.
And if he wants to put it into context with, pre-war Germany, you're talking like the Weimar Republic.
Right.
That's what that's like. That was a fucking bastion of art, of free sexuality. Like, it was all the things that the progressives are all about.
Right.
That's what it's like. It's not about a bunch of fucking fascists stepping on fucking gay people, Jews, fucking whoever, setting boots on their neck. He's fucking ridiculous. He's ridiculous.
Yeah. You and I were also talking before the show about Russell Brand, and there are some similarities here, because with Brand and with Peterson, sometimes they'll talk for a good 60 to 120 seconds in one sentence, say a lot of polysyllabic words, and I still have no idea what they said. For example, I hear Hitchens or Sam Harris or Richard Dawkins. I hear other intellectuals. They can take super high-level concept things and make them relatable. we talked about Dawkins. He takes string theory and like an idiot like me starts to understand what he's talking about, and that shouldn't be a thing.
Dawkins, Hitchens. I mean, Dennett. I
But
mean, all
Peterson,
the Four Horsemen.
I don't hate Peterson. I don't dislike him. I don't think he's very smart. At least he's not as smart as he thinks he is.
He's definitely not as smart as he thinks he is. I don't think he's very smart. He is very clever, and he is very well read.
Very clever, very well read, knows a lot of words, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's a disguise of intellectualism.
I agree. And I think, again, we were talking before the show here that I think a lot of this has to do with his childhood, because he was a small guy growing up in fucking a rough and tumble place. Fucking, was it north?
In Canada?
Yeah, but it was like up in the north.
Okay, so you said he got bullied as a child.
Alberta, yeah. I think he got bullied, so he learned how to talk. He learned how to talk quick.
Use his mind.
Probably got his ass kicked a lot. I don't know what his family life was like, although it sounded like he had good stories of his dad and stuff like that. So I don't think it was that, but he definitely grew up in a fucking out in the boondocks motherfucking place. And so I think that's why he went into psychology, is to utilize that to against his foes, as it were.
So as his lifelong coping mechanism, you're saying that he's armed himself with intellectualism or with to kind of use that to wield power.
Yeah. And also I think because of that, he's got these narcissistic tendencies and delusions of grandeur. I mean, he wanted to buy a fucking church, dude. And not
buy a church? Can't you just start a church?
He wanted to buy, it was an actual church in Ontario. He wanted to purchase it.
Yeah.
The guy, and at the time, there was a lot of people buying churches because nobody's going to church anymore, really. Right. And everybody was thinking, oh, you're gonna. His friend was like, "You gonna, fit it out and turn it into a house?" He's like, "No, I want to start preaching." And I don't know if he was talking. I don't think that he was. I think that he meant that he wanted to do his lectures out of there.
Okay.
But it was still him preaching. Him getting up in front of people and having a congregation. He wants to be both a literal savior and a cultural savior. Like that's what he's doing right now.
Well, I was watching a bunch of videos of his, and a lot of sweet young men walking up and talking to him after his lectures.
For sure.
And saying very nice things to him, and really, I enjoy that. I mean, that is to say, I'm glad that some young men who have poor connections with their fathers or no fathers have found some solid answers through Peterson. That part I don't mind. Like,
and I think
we made fun of Make Your Bed.
Right. But I think that book, 12 Rules for Life, really helped a lot of young men and boys kind of figure out what growing up meant. Although when you look at the book, you kind of break it down, it's just pap. It's nothing special. It's self-help shit, just kind of packaged a little bit differently.
He's saying the right things to an audience that needs to hear it.
Yeah, and I mean, but he's using ridiculous examples, but they're the idea behind them are helping these guys get their shit together, and that's necessary, because he really has tapped into this, the crisis of masculinity, and boys trying to figure out what the fuck's going on and stuff like that. So he has helped people, but I think that at this point he's doing more harm than good. I think that book probably did do some good in the world, but I think that's done now.
So that's the problem. That's the dual-edged sword here. Clearly he's helped some young men kind of find their way, which I appreciate. I like that.
Yeah.
The problem is they're finding their way towards people like Joe Rogan and Peterson and his ilk.
These ideas of masculinity that are just so fucking narrow, dude. They're not giving them broad concepts of what being a man is like.
It's like I want to grab every young man that's interested in Peterson and just give him Christopher Hitchens' book on tape.
Yeah, right.
This is an intellectual.
Yeah.
This is someone, I swear to God, that's worth admiring.
Yeah.
He is worth your admiration.
Oh, there's a lot of people on the left that have an argument with you on that.
Oh, I remember Hitchens would go on Bill Maher 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was called an Islamophobe because of things he was saying about the Middle East.
But he was,
he's
right.
and the thing is too, someone like that can make morally defensible arguments I don't agree with. Whether or not I agree with them,
Yeah.
I still respect the intellectualism. So I
Yeah.
still respect the brain behind it. So
Yeah, no, it's a hard thing with. I mean, that's why we're here, right? Trying to figure out how to help people kind of define masculinity in a modern way. And his whole thing is just going backwards. His aversion to postmodernism is because he loves the old ways. I mean, he's turned into a fucking tradcath.
yeah,
Okay. This is this is an aside.
yeah.
Did you see? Did you see that Elon Musk now believes in the teachings of Jesus Christ?
What?
Yeah,
Now that's new.
it's very new.
I've never heard Musk mention God once. I don't think.
This is new. He's hitched his wagon.
Okay.
He's hitched his wagon. Okay, sorry, that was
You're good.
Total
You're
fucking
good.
aside.
I did notice that after the 2016 election, Peterson described Trump as a liberal and a moderate. No
Right.
more of a demagogue than Reagan. Inasmuch as Trump voters are intolerant, Peterson claims, is the left's fault for sacrificing the working class on the altar of identity politics. You know, there's so much bullshit in that sentence. I'm not even sure where to begin.
No, the only thing that's true there, I think, is that the Democrats totally fucked the working class and the working left.
Are we talking about economically, or are we talking about forcing them out because they? Are you talking about socially or economically?
I'm going with both on that, because
How did the Democrats fuck the middle class? I mean, well, are you talking about basically all the Dixiecrats and all the centrist Democrats that fucked over our jobs?
I'm saying that after Reagan, the Democrats really did become an elitist coastal party, and they completely fucked them both culturally and financially. Economically, because they went with NAFTA, and culturally because they fucking went with NAFTA. They totally shuffled them out. They made their lives fucking miserable. And I believe
except Republicans signed that bill too.
Absolutely.
So I mean,
and I'm not saying that's not true.
I'm not even disagreeing with you.
No, I get
But
it.
a majority of the Senate and Congress passed that bill.
It's because they were all Republicans. I mean, essentially, they all became Republicans.
Right.
I mean, that move, fuck Clinton, dude. Fuck Clinton.
I remember someone came on Bill Maher once, and he was a great political strategist. And boy, did he say something I'd never heard anyone say before. And he was talking about someone, I think it might have been Kerry who lost to Bush, but it was something like that.
Yeah.
And he said, this Democrat is going to lose. And Bill Maher says, why? And he goes, he is not differentiated enough from his opponent.
Yeah.
If the voter can't understand the difference, they're going to just vote their party.
Right.
Right? If there's very little nuance between the two, that's a mistake. That was the whole problem with Democrats going to the middle.
Going to the
is
center.
that if you're so much like a Republican, what's the difference?
And so I feel that move to the center alienated all of the working class, and they said, "Fuck it, we'll go with the other people."
Don't you? Okay, but the working class was alienated before that, don't you think?
Not to the degree that they were after that, because NAFTA destroyed the middle of the country.
Right.
I mean, it really did. Like, all those fucking jobs went away because of that.
Yeah.
And that's why the left totally did fucking alienate
Absolutely.
the working class.
I hear you. I do.
Yeah.
Again, false equivalency. If you know, to me, if you're going to tout Trump.
Oh, on his part. I thought you were talking about
no,
me.
No, not by you. God, no. You suck, Josh. But you know what I mean?
That's it. I quit.
You and I have lots of choice things to say about Democrats, especially Clinton.
Yeah.
We could go on and on about how shitty, all the shitty things that Democrats have done over the last 50 years. There's no doubt about it.
But you're right. I mean, it is false equivalency in a lot of ways. And the thing about Peterson, and I told you this, I think, off before, so I listened to like an older lecture of Peterson's, and then I listened to like a couple new ones. And one of the ones that I started, I couldn't fucking finish, was him doing a psych profile of Trump. And it was such pandering bullshit.
Okay.
I could not.
So it wasn't an honest analysis of Trump. It was a
No.
geared
I mean, it was
towards Trump.
exactly that kind of shit. Like
Okay.
what you read out of that was that a quote? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolute fucking horseshit. Just blowing smoke up his skirt, dude. What the fuck?
You said the New York Times had posited that Trump could win on ethics,
On character alone.
on character alone. Like, okay, so I guess we just removed all objectivity.
That's when I quit. Fuck those people. Get the Guardian.
No fucking shit. Yeah, I got a few more notes. What do you got?
So, one of the things I do want to address is, he's a fucking tradcath now, and I'm just going to repeat that just because. But the thing that gets me here is that because he claimed to be non-religious at a point there, but he's jumped on the train, and I think that's what made me think about Elon Musk.
Sure.
Is that this whole ultra alt-right group is now weirdly Catholic, and not like Vatican II Catholic, but fucking prior to that, like they're the anti-Vatican II Catholics, the tradcaths, and it's fucking insane to me. Like they want the mass done in fucking Latin, they want to go back, dude.
We talked about Mel Gibson's dad,
Yeah.
right? Who left the Catholic Church because it was too liberal.
and that's exactly what these fuckers are doing. It's insane to me.
Yeah. There was a guy, he worked for the Bush administration, Bush Jr., and he was very excited to be Bush Jr.'s religion czar. And I saw this guy interviewed. He did seem like a decent chap, a real Christian. Seemed like a Jimmy Carter Christian.
Right.
So when he took that position, he's like, this is great. I'm going to help people. I'm going to use my position to make America a better place. And he takes office with Bush, and he sees them constantly laughing about religious people behind their backs. So he with earnest and integrity decides, I'm going to do this. I'm going to help make people's lives better. But he was quickly disillusioned because he saw Bush and his staffers and his upper management staff basically constantly just laughing about how dumb religious people are.
Yeah,
It's expediency, right? It's cachet to get more votes.
It's a voter block. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one they've been courting since the 70s.
I'm surprised it took Musk this long to do that because, he's been a Trump supporter for years. I'm surprised why now.
I don't know why. I'm always curious as to the timing.
Yeah.
This is fucking ridiculous, but when's Ben Shapiro going to convert?
Come on. He's Jewish, dude. He would never do that.
So one of the things that I think that we should address is his benzo addiction. And,
So he was
what he did.
addicted to Benzedrine.
He was taking clonazepam.
I forget what that is. What is clonazepam?
It's basically a benzodiazepine. So it's
not an opiate.
No. It's a really addictive anti-anxiety drug.
Oh, okay.
The whole class of benzos is an anti-anxiety thing.
So that's something that psychiatrists would prescribe to their patients?
Yeah, he was taking because he's always had problems with both depression
Sure.
and anxiety, and so he was taking a 0.5 milligram a day of clonazepam.
Okay.
His wife, so he started that in 2016, and his wife ended up getting kidney cancer, getting really sick, and
Wow.
he was having a hard time dealing with that. So on his own, he increased the dosage till he was taking 8 times as much. He was taking 4 milligrams of fucking clonazepam.
Once again, proving he's not a doctor.
Proving he is not a doctor, and he doesn't really kowtow to that science thing, I guess. I don't know.
It's not a truth. It's not an absolute truth. There's no morality
There's
attached
no morality
to it.
there.
So he was addicted to benzo, and you said it got pretty bad.
Oh, it got really bad. He was trying to cut back, couldn't do it. And the thing about that particular class of drugs is that if you try and quit and you don't, it makes it worse.
Wow.
So he didn't know what to do, didn't want to go through the actual fucking weaning off. So Michaela, his daughter, decided to fly him to fucking Russia to get him into an experimental clinic that put him into a coma for 8 days so that he could do the withdrawals in a coma.
That sounds dangerous.
Yeah. So he came out of it, and he was still in intensive care for another 4 weeks after that.
Wow.
Bad stuff. And then he stayed in Russia, or in Belgrade, for, I think it was 4 months. He stayed for a while to recover. Came back to Canada, immediately came down with COVID, and which he caught in Belgrade in Serbia. So he really had a fucking hard time with this, and the withdrawals were really fucking bad. Like, coming off of that shit's really hard.
Okay, I bet.
The thing, I really have no, I kind of got sympathy for him, although I shouldn't. He's a piece of shit. He still doesn't cop to it being a mental addiction. He only claims that's a physical addiction. He likes to break down a difference because he thinks that he's stronger than that.
So if he admits it's a mental addiction, he's weak?
Then he hasn't cleaned his own room or one of his fucking things, right? Yes. That's as far as I can tell, that's the way that came down.
This goes back to your bullying theory, right?
Yeah.
His mind is stronger than yours. So
well, and also because he is a savior, he can't be weak.
Right.
So a physical addiction is not weak. It's just something that happened.
So if it was a mental addiction, that would be
a weakness.
Yeah. Coma, that's scary.
Big time, dude. You fucking jam you in a coma. I don't even know what they do. Nobody in the States would do it. Nobody in Canada would do it.
Well, and I'm not even sure there's a guarantee you come out of a coma once you're in a coma.
No, there's not. If it's chemically induced, who fucking knows? And so, of course, Russia. Yeah.
Has Russia paid you to do this podcast, Josh?
My Russia pitch.
I was on CNN the other day. An influencer, a right-wing influencer, says he was offered money to fake things. It was a Russian bot or whatever, a Russian,
Oh yeah, no, they're. I mean, did you see that they just came out and said that Russia was trying to send bombs on airplanes?
Wow.
They were trying to set it up so that it was going on. What happened is they were doing it from Poland. So it was a Polish airline that stopped in Germany, and the bomb exploded while they were there, and they tracked it back, and they found this whole group that was in the process of setting up. That was a trial run to see if they could get it to the States to blow up the planes on the way.
Oh my Lord.
I mean, I'm surprised more shit hasn't gone down. And I think that they've really tightened up things as far as like the CIA feds are watching this happen, and they're stopping a lot of the problems. But
man,
yeah,
I hope so.
The Russia, dude.
Yeah.
They
used to be our enemy.
Yeah,
not anymore.
I can't believe all these fucking Republicans are all about it. Like,
yeah.
It's insane.
Trump said that Zelensky was wrong to not meet with Putin. What are you talking about? Yeah. He's basically calling Zelensky obstinate, for being attacked, or not sure what's going on there.
A part of this, like, ultimately, I do blame Obama and that administration for not fucking fighting back for Crimea, because that was their test. That was them poking the line.
I hear you. Yeah.
And Obama really fucking screwed the pooch there. He screwed the pooch in Syria too.
Right.
Like he really fucked up with these fucking bullshit red lines that he allowed them just to cross.
That's too bad.
It was both Russia and Iran. I know, I'm a hawk, dude. I'm sorry.
Well, you are a Hitchens disciple. So
disciple? No.
No. Well, he was a hawk though.
He's my homie. No.
Yeah.
And he didn't start out that way. He
No.
saw the way things were going, and it's fucking obvious. It's fucking obvious. You can't let these motherfuckers do this shit. Those red lines are there for a fucking reason.
Absolutely.
Anyway, sorry.
Do you want to disband the UN, Josh?
Fuck no. I want the UN to get strong.
Yeah.
I want to fund the fucking UN.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Those are the people that should be fighting this shit. They're the ones that should be fucking fighting those lines.
Well, I mean, that's the thing too. When the UN takes a stand on something, it means the U.S. doesn't have to. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, sure.
Like it's like the
they
world,
don't go it alone.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? Like the U.S. being the world's police, I'm not really comfortable with that.
No, that's
but I am
rough.
comfortable with a world body that, governs, genocide.
Yeah,
right. That tries to actually stop genocide in its tracks.
Now, that's not to say that the UN hasn't really fucking screwed the pooch in a bunch of different places.
Of course they
like
have.
Fucking poor Haiti, dude. Again, poor fucking
terrible.
Haiti.
Yeah.
The way they dealt with all that, and then fucking. I would like to see a UN that was stronger and more independent.
Yeah.
And somehow just keeping those motherfuckers in check, like making sure the people that get hired into the military, the UN military, are not pedos. I mean, like that's...
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's a real fucking problem.
They've had a problem with pedophiles in the UN military?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, boy.
This is... Yeah. Sorry.
Is our pizza parlors involved? Or?
Yeah, fucking Comet Ping Pong.
Okay, yeah. Wormhole. This is a wormhole.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted
it's okay.
here.
Yeah, you're good.
So, but I really do feel like he is somebody who sees himself as both a savior, a spiritual and cultural savior, and I think that he's doing everything he can to build up his cachet. Now, if you did you look at any of the things that he's doing, like Peterson Academy? Have you seen that? Did you see that?
I didn't really do any research on.
So there's Peterson Academy, which is $500 a year, and he's in the process of trying to get those courses accredited. He wants them to be accepted as college.
So online learning?
Yeah. Different videos. Fucking, of course, Brett Weinstein's on there, and he's got some courses, and I didn't recognize a lot of the names, and I didn't have time to do any research on them, but I'm sure.
So the way there's Trump University, now there's Peterson.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like you can do it, what is it, $44.16 per month or $500 a year. So he's doing that.
You said that number like I'm supposed to mean something to me.
No, it doesn't.
You just happen to know that.
It's fucking so random.
44.16.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, fine. Okay.
What's 16 times 12? I can't do that.
Brain not working.
Okay.
Then he has the selfauthoring.com. Did you look at that at all?
A little bit.
Yeah. So I feel like that is actually, he developed that at a time where he was less concerned with establishing himself as a fucking right-wing nut job. And I think, because it seems like most of the courses on there are probably fine. It seems like you're self-authoring. So you write your future, your past, your present kind of thing, which I think is probably helpful to some people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't see, that's something I didn't really see a lot wrong with. And it was cheap. It's $30 for the whole thing. So it's not like trying to screw people. And he's on the Daily Wire, which is not good. And that's where all of his podcasts are now. All his podcasts,
they're all hosted there.
Videos are hosted off of Daily Wire. And you know Daily Wire?
Is that super right wing?
So Daily Wire is Ben Shapiro. It's basically his thing, but you have people like Ben Shapiro, fucking Candace Owens on there. You've got Jordan Peterson. You've got all the fucking nut jobs.
So the Daily Dickhead.
You're right. Yeah. So
all the dickheads are housed there.
But for a lot of his videos now, if you want to see the extended version, you have to be a member of the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much they're paying him, but they got to be paying him fucking loot.
He's hot.
Loot.
Yeah. His name is worth a lot right now.
He's the biggest name on there besides Ben Shapiro.
Right.
Candace Owens is a fucking joke, but
I think Peterson's a much larger figure now than Shapiro is, isn't he?
I would say yes. On anybody more central than Nazi, yes.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro's Ben Shapiro, but Peterson is a much bigger draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's made a lot of money. Good for him.
A lot of fucking money. The thing about him, and we've talked about this a little bit, but he's so fucking Weasley about language. Like listening to him with Sam was just like, what the fuck are you saying?
He said to Sam, I really don't agree with your interpretation of X. And Sam said, well, that's not my interpretation. You don't understand. He basically said, you've misunderstood my interpretation.
You're either willfully misinterpreting it
Yeah.
or you're not understanding what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, that was the best thing about listening to him, because the thing about Peterson is that once he gets with somebody that actually can call him out and keep him pinned, because his whole thing is about segues.
Right.
He interrupts and goes on a tangent and changes the subject. And Sam's like, okay, so I want to get there, but that's not what we're talking about right now. Let's get this fucking clear.
Yeah, he is pretty great about honing it, and he's polite about it, but he doesn't really let him get away with anything.
Yeah. I mean, I heard him with some other guy, and it was a lot of yes-anding, bunch of hand jobs. But it was never a consistent dialogue. It was something that they would be talking about something. Peterson would change the subject and go to something else, and the other guy would be all yes and, right? It was just
But no questioning.
No questioning, not trying to get back to what they were talking about. It was just pure digression. There was nothing. Like the worst, here's an example of his fucking Weasley ass. Some reporter basically asked him, do you believe in God? Straightforward.
Reasonable question, yeah.
Straightforward. I mean, especially, he talks about all this stuff, his Jungian psychology, all of his reference to fucking Bible and shit like that. His response was something along the lines of, well, first we have to define some things. What do you mean by do? What do you mean by you? What do you mean by believe? And what do you mean by in?
Oh, God.
And what do you mean by God? Like, that was his fucking response. It's like, oh, fuck. Seriously, dude? Seriously?
It's like that's something like a 19-year-old college student would say.
That is first year philosophy guy fucking.
So did he answer the question or not?
I don't believe that she went into trying to define all of those terms. I could be wrong, and I didn't have a chance to finish looking that one up. But that fucking, like, God damn it, dude. He's just a Weasley fuck.
Yeah. I did want to tell you something real quick here. Having watched that 90-minute documentary, I really did not enjoy that. But I did have a pleasant surprise halfway through. I don't want to let you know. YouTube has a feature that lets you watch stuff at 1.5 the speed.
See?
So I was pretty bummed out that I had 45 minutes left, and I never use it, but I realized I could listen to it at 1.5 speed, so it went a lot faster.
I was trying. So I told you I listened to the first two chapters of fucking of the 12 Rules for Life. At some point, I was like, I'm going to hang myself if I have to listen to fucking 30 hours, 16 hours, whatever it fucking was. I will fucking kill myself if I have to listen to the whole thing. I'm like, okay, I'll try and put it on double speed. So I put it on 2, and it's just like this fucking angry Muppet. Fucking, I couldn't fucking do it. It was worse somehow trying to listen to it faster. I put it on 2 speed. I'm like, oh, I can't do that. 1.5. Oh, that's still 1.25.
Yeah, it was awful either way. It just went faster. So I appreciated that.
It just goes faster.
Yeah.
So you got anything else for me?
Yeah. I think I'm good. I mean, I'm a little, he's kind of a mysterious figure. We can write off guys like Russell Brand and P. Diddy as just assholes, pieces of shit, whatever. Peterson's a little more tricky than that, I think.
Yeah, he is. He's greasy.
I do understand his appeal. I mean, that is to say, I understand why this is working.
Yeah.
I guess for me, we were talking about this. I've never heard someone say so many words to say so little.
Yeah.
Is how I would, sum him up.
Yeah.
A lot of words to say what? Where I get to the end of the sentence, I just don't know what he said.
Yeah.
What did you say?
What does that mean?
So
can you define do?
He is a wordsmith, I guess, but I'm not sure it leads to any truth.
I wouldn't say he's a
But I'm saying, I mean, he's a crafter of language. I'm not saying it's into something good.
Yeah.
He is someone that is able, you said that he was bullied. He's found a way to weaponize words because he says enough big words where people go, oh, that's how a college professor talks. And he agrees with my bigotry. So now I'm a Jordan Peterson fan, I guess.
Right.
So
I'll close with my ultimate take of this is He makes connections that don't exist based on flawed interpretations of books that he doesn't understand.
That's good.
That's my takeaway from Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, that's kind of what you said about Brand, too, that Brand had read, or at least partially read, some of these works and had assimilated some of the language, but really didn't know what he was talking about.
No, I think that Peterson has read those books, but I don't think that he understands them.
Right.
I think that Brand has looked at the fucking dust jacket.
Oh, he's looked at the crib notes or whatever.
He's got the cliff notes.
The cliff notes, yeah.
He's read like the first third of the cliff notes. But I believe that Peterson has read. I mean, he really is truly a well-read person.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
But he's not a well-understanding person.
Doesn't seem like it.
That's what I get from it. Or he's a pure grifter, and it's really hard to fucking suss that out.
I probably, if I were to guess, I would guess he's more sincere than a real grifter.
I feel like he is too. I feel like he's sincere, but he just doesn't understand.
No.
I'm surprised that Sam gives him as much fucking leeway as he does. The last one that I heard him actually talking to him, like, it seemed like he was doing him a favor. That's really what he was humoring him.
Okay.
It did not seem like a serious discussion on Sam's part.
I guess if you're Sam, it's a way to, like, knowing Sam. I mean, obviously he's going to get clicks, right? Because Jordan Peterson's a popular name.
For sure.
But I do like how Sam talks to people, and I do think it's a way to kind of gently call some of these people on the things that they say. You know, he's pretty cool about it, I think, most of the time. But I don't ascribe necessarily only mercenary reasons to have guys like Peterson on. I think
no. And he was actually on Peterson's podcast
right.
for this one that I'm talking about
right.
specifically. But it was definitely something you're like, I think that Peterson also understands that he is no equal to Sam Harris.
I would imagine.
He's just not. And
no.
And I think that he doesn't believe that about most people.
Absolutely. And just to close real quick, I have a brief asshole of the week.
Oh, give it to me.
Asshole of the week.
Joe Rogan.
Oh, God damn it.
So Joe Rogan officially endorsed Donald Trump today on the eve of the election. This was yesterday on the eve of the election.
He did?
Yes. A move that Trump's team swiftly touted as a major win in the final hours of their campaign. Rogan released his latest podcast featuring a 2.5 interview with the billionaire owner of X and top Trump surrogate Elon Musk. And he said, the great and powerful Elon Musk, he called him, and if it wasn't for him, we'd be fucked. He makes what I think is the most compelling case for Trump you'll hear, and I agree with him every step of the way. So, you know, and we talked about this a little bit. When dumb people vote for Trump, I'm able to make an excuse for that.
Right.
You know, he's appealing to very basis, kind of racist dog whistles, and I get how he has an appeal to certain people.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Joe Rogan is a genius. I'm not saying Elon Musk is a genius. But when people of moderate intelligence endorse Trump, I'm confused. You know, Musk stands to make a lot of money.
It's
right?
pure. It's pure money.
Right. But
yeah.
Joe Rogan's making lots of money no matter what. He doesn't need Trump to win to make money.
Yeah. I don't know. I
don't get it.
I don't get it.
It's confusing. I'll let that hang there. I do have a couple quotes. This is Zach Galifianakis, great comedian. Before he was a star of shitty comedy movies, he was one of my favorite stand-up comedians. He's amazing.
He's good.
He says, I want to open up a maternity shop and call it We're Fucked. That was pretty good. This is Marcus Cicero. Please continue with your threats. I would hate to submit to implication alone. Great. Made me think of Harvey Keitel in Reservoir Dogs says, are you going to bark all day, little doggy, or are you going to bite?
It's so good.
It's like almost a direct quote of Cicero. Now, this sounds super pretentious. I'm going to quote myself.
Oh, good.
It was just a dumb social media thing I'd put up a few years ago, and I thought you would get a chuckle out of it. I was tested for tuberculosis before I could work at my current job. I think they should test you for TB after you shop at Grocery Outlet. Anyway, I love Grocery Outlet. I always think that place is fun, but it's a little sketchy. So
yeah, you maybe want to have a botulism test on the cans.
Yeah. One time I was on hold at the grocery outlet asking if they had something, and it said it was clear to me that even their hold music was cheap. Discount hold music at the grocery outlet. So
That's too funny.
all right, well, I really appreciate all the work you put into this.
Yeah, well, fuck, man. That's
Sorry,
what we're here
man.
for, right?
Yeah, good job though.
We got to figure out the next one.
Yeah, toast to bad dads.
Here's to them.
See you next time.
Rock on. You have been listening to The Trivial Man. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can either call us at 415-484-8841 or send us an email at thetriviumpod@gmail.com.